Now, Burundi officials say they will discuss their response on Tuesday to a call by African nations to delay the presidential election by 2 weeks to July the 30th. Regional African states meeting in Tanzania Monday called for the July 15th presidential poll to be delayed to allow Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni to mediate. They also urged steps including disarming youth groups linked to political parties. Presidential spokesman Have Abayeho says the meeting would include government officials and the Election Commission. However, he did not give a time or say if the government was considering delaying the vote. And now, for more, I'm joined by VOA's Edward Rwema, who has just returned from Burundi. Eddie, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you so much.
What a fabulous job you did while in Burundi.
Thank you so much.
We have some breaking news from Burundi. Can you update us on that?
Yeah, the breaking news we have is that the National Electoral Commission just announced a few minutes ago the results of the recently held legislative and communal elections. And from what we gather, the ruling parties here in the day of the day was able to garner 77 seats out of 100 seats.
That is like a majority.
It definitely a landslide
for
an elections that was only participated by the ruling party.
By the ruling party.
Yes.
Now, talk about the upcoming presidential election. The regional leaders are saying, well, postpone this to the 30th. But there's some technicalities here. Can you kind of give us some insight?
Yeah, of course, the
that?
technicalities involve the likely vacuum that would come in place if at all the elections would go beyond August 26. According to the Constitution, all the institutions must be in place by August 26th. And what it means that elections should take place at least 1 month before the deadline that is set by the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So what is happening right now, if the elections are to take place on July 30th, that means they only have a couple of days. And the other technicality that might come or might arise is if the winning candidate doesn't get the 50+1 votes. So that would mean there should be a runoff, a second run. And that would probably take us beyond. Outside that.
Now the question is, what are the regional leaders thinking when they're proposing this? They definitely, you would assume they understand that there are some of these constitutional issues to consider.
I assume they do, like yesterday during the Heads of State Summit in Dar es Salaam, they called for a postponement for at least 2 weeks to create an enabling environment for all political parties to take part in these elections. Whether those 2 weeks are enough, it's something that is very debatable. We know that they set terms to have all the refugees returned. They set terms to have the ruling party's youth wing disarmed. They set terms to have the independent media opened. So whether this is going to be possible, it's something
Look, you were there. You were. Tell me, how many people are out of the country as refugees?
Right now, we are talking of over 140,000 refugees. And these are people, when I visited one of the camps in Tanzania, these are the people who are telling you that they're not going to come back unless something has changed, unless the government has withdrawn all the arms it has given to the youth wing in Imbonerakure. So whether the government is going to be able to do that, nobody knows. Because right now what the opposition is saying, instead of the government disarming the youth, they should bring in a neutral force to do that job.
But in any case, do we know how many of those youth have weapons and where they're to be found, and how you even begin to disarm them?
We don't know how many or how much arms is in the hands of the youth. Just a few weeks ago when I spoke to the advisor to the president's office, Willie Nyamitwe, he told me that they've been able to at least get 100,000 weapons from people who had them illegally. So whether this process is going on and whether they're going to be able to do that is something that everybody is waiting to see. But again, the opposition says it's not possible for people who gave out weapons to be the ones to get those weapons out of the people.
Very quickly, from what you're hearing from the leadership in Bujumbura, does the government, the President Nkurunziza, seem to be really bothered by any of this?
when it comes to third term issue and him withdrawing his candidacy, this is something that he's not going to take easily. And this is another thing, again, that is a major issue when it comes to the dialogue. So when they are invited for dialogue, the opposition is saying, before we say anything or before we discuss anything, he has to withdraw his candidacy. Mm-hmm. And again, the ruling party, up to now, they say they're not going to be bothered, or they're not going to withdraw that candidacy.
Doesn't appear like it's going to happen. But we'll keep watching developments in Burundi. Thanks a lot, Eddie, for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Well, Eddie Rwema of the Voice of America. Now,